Okay, so today I am at Britain's friendliest racecourse, apparently, with Stephen Darbyshire. Thanks very much for agreeing to talk to us today,
Thank
Stephen.
you, Simon.
So, why is it Britain's friendliest racecourse?
Well, they don't want people here. I mean, it's an entire piss take, isn't it? So, unfortunately, it's not Britain's friendliest racecourse. It's run for bags racing. But I come here, 25 times a year? It's an hour for me. It's nice and easy, and it was the closest venue we could get to. I don't think you fancied Haydock on Saturday or Cartmel.
Well, I've never been to either of those. Would have been good, but it's a bit of a trek from the Shire. So, I mean, at least from my point of view, you appear to have burst onto the scene fairly recently, but I'm in the West Country based, obviously, via the Races Now channel, and have already become one of the tipsters the bookies fear. Was the fame within the racing game something you hankered after? Well, you move the prices, don't you?
Well, to an extent. I mean, we had a very bad run, 10 days ago, so that wasn't ideal. I mean, I think it's because it's free. No, it wasn't something I hankered after. I've known Adam, who you'll see on a Thursday night with me, 10 or 15 years. And I actually met him at a pub quiz, and he couldn't understand why I kept winning. Then I realised how to get the answers. So that was great fun. These were in the days where I would do things slightly more dodgy than I would now, but you could just buy the answers off the internet and win a score every week.
Yeah, but you can't do that picking the winners that you've been picking, can you?
No.
So we want to find out about that. You've had a terrific strike rate. Okay, everybody has a losing run. You said you had a bad losing run 10 days ago, so that obviously ended 10 days ago. So you've had a good run since then. How much time do you spend picking them?
I do it, I mean, professionals will hate this, but you do it by gut. You do it by, I'm very negative with horses. So I think, well, this can't win. This has no bloody chance, whatever. So I might do 2 hours of an evening, but no more than that. What you can end up doing, and I've done this probably 10 years ago I was doing this, you start digging and you dig for something that isn't there. And then you completely and utterly muck the race up.
Right.
I mean, it's price driven to an extent. I mean, I purposely do not look how they bet before I do them.
Okay.
Because you come up cognitively with a price in your head, and then you think, well, that's too big, that's too small, and sort of do it from there. It's intuitive.
So is your memory good?
Yes.
And would you read all the form every night? So are you building your knowledge base, all the time? So you remember every race you see, and
you remember. It's not as good as it was. I mean, bloody hell, I could tell you 30 years ago what won a certain race. But yeah, if you go racing, it enforces things. So the memory works, and you'll think, I mean, I should use trackers. I don't. I sort of keep a notebook and say this will go well next time or whatever. But you remember your things. You think, oh well, I remember seeing that at Musselburgh last year, and this happened and that happened, and that is what helps.
Do you use tools like Proform, Raceform? You sort of sat down in front of your computer and...
No. I've never sat in front of a computer in my life doing the race. I use my mobile phone. I will use the Racing Post. I will look at replays if I get time. Within that, I will obviously look at videos of previous things. I've got a notebook at home which I'll go back to and refer to and sort of use as an aide-memoire. But no, I mean, what I find with horses is generally, if you're looking for something that happened 2 or 3 years ago, it doesn't work. There's a fairly limited time span with them.
Okay, now we're at Wolverhampton today for the all-weather. I saw at Newmarket for the Guineas meeting. Seen you freezing cold, the same as everybody else throughout the jump season. So you bet on all codes.
Yes.
Is there one you favour?
Not code. Look, when I'm doing the form of going racing, and this might be to do with, and this is not to upset the bookmakers down south, but generally they bet a bit better in the north.
God, what the?
And I always say to whoever's with me, if in doubt, go north. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. first off, you don't get the traffic. I mean, you got stuck an hour doing 10 miles today. And second off, I know the horse is slightly better, so it's more geographical with me. I mean, if you draw a line from the Trent and sort of go northwards, I know the horse is better. Right.
So would you take any notice at all then of what won at Newton Abbot last week, for example?
Not a great. I try and do every race course every 5 years. So.
I mean, would you look at just for your form base, sort of?
No.
Unless, of course, one was running from there, I suppose you'll have a look back.
Yeah. You'll have a look back, but my knowledge of southwestern form in particular is not as good as Hexham, Carlisle, Kelso, Hamilton.
Okay, so I'm sure Dave Spice and that would quite like you to come down the West Country then, if you don't know much about the West Country betting. Is there an element of form that you put most emphasis on when you're picking your selections, when you're spending your 2 hours a night?
No, I think this is the other advantage of going racing. I'll give you an example. I was at Wetherby the other week, and it became very quickly, there are certain bits of form that completely usurp anything else. So it became very quickly clear at Wetherby that you could not come from behind. You needed a front runner. So you've got to be adaptable. I mean, if it pulls down throughout the afternoon, if on the flat, if there's a draw bias, it completely and utterly mucks things up. Now that's a slight disadvantage to tipping in the morning. Okay, there's more ricks in the morning, but there are other factors which overtake others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't say, oh well, this has done a good time last time, so I must back it because nothing else can win the race. You can't do that. You view everything in the round, and then you do pluses and minuses. You roughly know what price it should be in your head, and you go from there.
And you've probably answered this question already with the geographical bias that you've got, but there's an awful lot of racing on some days, and you've been possible to go through it all. So how do you whittle down the races you intend to bet on? Is there a type of race that you think, I'll give that, put a line through that straight away?
I don't like nurseries. Never liked nurseries. I don't particularly like 3-year-old handicaps early in the season. But apart from that, no. I mean, I sort of, like today, I started at Haydock doing the form I did here. I thought, well, there's 3 bets today. I'm not bothering with Yarmouth or Droslas or wherever it is.
You say Droslas on purpose, don't you?
Of course I say Droslas on purpose. I've picked
that up a few times.
I think it's the most awful place. I've nothing against its location, but it's all the charisma of a throat infection, I'm afraid.
So you say that you know what price a horse should be. Is that just the one you fancy, or would you then, if you're looking at a race to get involved in, would you mentally work it out and price that race up? Yeah,
but I don't write it down. So I'll have an idea and I'll think, well, that should be, I don't know, that should be 8-1. So there was one tonight and it was 8-1, and it's called Alton Festival, and I thought it should be 5. So I thought, well, we're going in, and it's 9-2 now. So but sometimes I get it completely wrong. I text somebody on Sunday, because you do with punting. It's not a loner thing. I will text people for an opinion. I said, this thing's a bloody big price, isn't it? I mean, and he made it 11, I made it 16, and it was 40. So I backed it, and it ran like a bloody drain. I mean, sometimes the betting tells you, especially with low grade racing, doesn't it?
Now, I've asked probably a dozen people that price up races, how they price them up, how they come up with a price that their horse, some of them price the whole card, the whole race, whatever, how they price up their own selection. Nobody can really give me an answer. They all say, I just know.
Yeah,
you're going to tell me the same thing.
Yeah, it's on gut, isn't it? You think, like I say, you almost start at the bottom. So if some crap running, you sort of put that in at 3,300, and then you know if something. I mean, you start with, should something be odds on or not? If it's odds on, has it got a better than 50% chance of winning? Because all odds are. I mean, 4-1 is, has it got a better than 20% chance of winning. That's all it is.
Can it be through the other zone, basically?
Yeah. So you don't have to get it right that often. If your average price is 4-1, you just have to be right. If you're right 1 in 4 times, I mean, that's good, because obviously 4-1 is 1 in 5.
Now, I think I already know the answer to this question. Then, I doubt there's a spreadsheet very near you when you're doing your form.
No.
Do you keep a record of anything?
Yeah, you keep a record of your bets. Of course, you keep a record of your bets, because the only person you're kidding is yourself. And since we've gone to races now, somebody else does those selections for me. But no, I don't use a spreadsheet for that. I use a spreadsheet in other things, but not for that.
What about sort of, the deeper you go into it, some people are just buried in reams of statistics. So like pace maps, speed figures, stuff like that.
Well, to an extent, you will look. I look at sectional times a hell of a lot more than I used to, because you've got to adapt. But pace maps, I mean, you called it a map. I'll say to someone, right, there's ball hole pace in this race. I think that'll make it. That's not a pace map. That's just common sense, and that might dictate, what will win the race. But I certainly don't do a map and make it all coloury and other things.
This is going back to the overthinking stuff.
Yeah, I think you can overthink stuff. I think you could find any horse on tonight's card at Wolverhampton and make a case for it if you dug deep enough. But if something comes out at you, I mean, I've been going racing 30 years now, so you get an idea. It's almost like a sixth sense of what you think will win.